Welcome back to CFO Weekly, where we're talking with financial leaders about how to build efficiency in their teams, create time for strategy, and ultimately get results. With your host, Megan Weiss. Let's jump right in.
Today, my guest is Stephen Arbaugh. Stephen is the Executive Vice President of Finance and Accounting and the Chief Financial Officer of the State Employees Credit Union of Maryland, SECU, the largest credit union in Maryland. He graduated from Towson University in 1978 with a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration, and from Loyola College in 1983 with a Master's degree in Finance. Prior to joining SECU in 2008, Steve spent 30 years in commercial banking working for Provident Bank of Maryland, starting as an accounting clerk in 1978 and working his way to the position of Director of Asset/Liability Management and Treasury Operations. Utilizing the fundamental principles of business he learned while at Towson and Loyola, Steve developed leadership skills in strategic planning, enterprise risk management, asset/liability management, mergers and acquisitions, investment and derivative portfolio management, and organizational change management. Steve is a past chairman of the Credit Union National Association, or CUNA, Finance Council, where he also served as chairman of the membership and regulatory committees and on the CUNA Council's executive committee. He worked directly with the National Credit Union Administration in restructuring the 5300 call report and the Financial Accounting Standards Board in the development of current expected credit losses, CECL, standards, and on assessing the potential impact on credit unions. He co-founded the Maryland/DC Credit Union Association CFO Round Table, which meets quarterly with CFOs from Maryland and DC and surrounding states to share ideas and discuss challenges in maintaining the safety and soundness of their respective financial institutions. Steve was the Smart CEO Magazine CFO Executive Management Award winner in 2014 and is an honorary member of the Beta Gamma Sigma International Honor Society and was the 2016 Towson University Alumni Volunteer Service Award winner. In 2019, he was awarded the Best in Finance CFO Award by the Baltimore Business Journal. In 2022, Steve was named the CUNA Finance Council Professional of the Year. Steve, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode.
I look very forward to speaking with you.
Yep. Today we're going to be discussing a little bit about your career, some of the specific challenges associated with working for a credit union, and the importance of making a positive impact on community. And I'm excited to learn from you. So let's get started.
Okay.
As always, let's start with you and your story. How is it that you got to where you are today?
Okay. As you said, my name is Steve Arbaugh, and I'm the Executive Vice President of Finance and Accounting and the Chief Financial Officer at CQ. We are CQ's largest. We are Maryland's largest credit union. Prior to joining CQ in 2008, I spent 30 years in commercial banking here in Baltimore. It was one of those situations where CQ was looking for a treasurer at the time, and I felt the need to get out of commercial banking, so I made the switch, and it was probably one of the best decisions I made in my career. In commercial banking, you have to deal a lot with the dividend and hitting the share price, and I had responsibility for managing all those investor relations when I was in commercial banking. And to come over to the credit union space where it's all about the member, it's been quite rewarding past 15 years in the credit union industry. I served as chair of the CUNA Finance Council. I've been on the council for the past 11 years. It was one of the first things I did when I came into the credit union industry. I knew very little about the credit union industry at the time. The first thing I did was Google, what is a credit union? One of the challenges that all of us in credit union space face is awareness. So I made the decision to come over, and I joined the CUNA Finance Council as a way of expanding my knowledge of what the credit union industry is and what are the issues facing CFOs. And I also helped establish the CUNA Risk and Compliance Council that, addresses risk management, throughout the credit union industry. I co-founded the Maryland DC Credit Union Association CFO Round Table. We gather finance professionals from Maryland, DC, and surrounding states, and we meet quarterly to share the stories about what's going on in our institutions and discuss the challenges we all face and maintaining the safety and soundness of our respective financial institutions. And we've been doing that for about the past 7 years. It's been very popular here in Maryland. I also served as treasurer on the board of the Credit Union Foundation of Maryland, DC. And, on that board, our sole purpose was to provide resources to smaller credit unions in the community they serve, and with an emphasis on financial literacy and leadership development and education. And more recently, I was deeply honored to be recognized as the 2022 Professional of the Year by the CUNA Finance Council. And I was very involved with that, like I said, for 11 years, and I will continue to support all the efforts of the council and the development of future finance professionals going forward.
So when you made the transition to commercial bank to credit union, was it a difficult one, or was it all just a breath of fresh air?
For me, it was a breath of fresh air. I started out working for a mutual savings bank, which is the commercial banking equivalent to a credit union, where the depositors or the members have ownership of the business. And in my time in commercial banking, we converted over to a publicly held commercial bank, and then the member becomes less important at that point, because you got to worry about the investor and the shareholder and all that that goes along with being a publicly held company. So it was a breath of fresh air for me to get back in an industry where we have to be concerned about making a profit, because we have to pay our salaries and we got to turn on the lights and we have to stay up with technology and all that. But at the end of the day, if we're able to generate enough income, the money is spent on developing the credit union going forward and preparing us for the future, and returning as much value as we possibly can to members.
So, what are the reasons that someone banks with a credit union versus a commercial bank? And I mean, you might have just touched on it a bit with the reasons why you left a commercial bank, but what's in it for the consumer?
Credit unions, because we don't have to pay the dividends, and this is by no means a knock on commercial banks, because like I said, I spent 30 years in the industry, but we don't have to pay the dividends every quarter, and we can invest those dividends back into the business, which generally allows us to have very competitive loan rates and very competitive deposit rates. And generally, credit unions are able to keep their fees quite reasonable, compared to other financial institutions. And we work very hard here at CQ to advance our technology and do all those things that we need to do to be relevant going into the future. But a lot of what we do is relationship banking. We did not get too hard. We did not get hit too hard during the Great Depression back in 2008 and 2009, because we know our members. We have relationships with our members. We'll work with them if they get in trouble on their loans and things like that. So it's for us, even though we are $5 billion in assets and the largest credit union in Maryland, we strive to maintain that relationship with the member.
And I'm just curious, can anyone bank with a credit union, or do you need specific qualifications?
Credit unions get a tax break because they have what we call a limited field of membership. For us, you have to be obviously a state employee with CQ being the state employees credit union, or there are other ways to join through, affiliations with businesses that work with the state and the state school system and the state hospital system, and and there are credit unions serving just about any type of member, depending on where they work or live. So, the best thing to do if somebody looking to possibly join a credit union is just to, Google credit unions in their respective, states and see, what the required fields of membership are, or just call the credit union and find out if they, if there's a way that they might be able to qualify for membership. But it is a limited field of membership. So there are, there are requirements to join.
And this is pretty impressive, but CQ membership has increased by 2% over the last 5 years, but assets have grown 45% from 3.29 billion to just over 5 billion. So can you talk about your growth strategy?
Yeah, a lot of that growth has taken place over the past 3 years. The pandemic really helped CQ speed up its long-term growth strategy. We've had branches for over 70 years, and we put members at the heart of everything we do, and we listen to their feedback and remain vigilant and in meeting and also anticipating their needs, and that helps us make investment decisions here at CQ. But we're really embracing innovative technology now. Similar to what all of our peer financial institutions are doing, and we've redone all of our financial centers. In trying to increase the flexibility of their banking options, with ITM machines, appointments, and self-service banking. When you enter one of our financial centers, we have interactive teller machines and access to online banking, and so people can do things after hours if they choose to do so. And one of the areas of focus right now for us is on self-service of the member, because quite frankly, we have the brick and mortar branches like most financial institutions do, but most of our members are looking for convenience, and a lot of that convenience is off hours. So we're trying to get members as self-serving as possible through, like I said, our online banking and our interactive teller machines. And during the pandemic, with our branches being closed for months at a time, we heavily invested in what we call our virtual financial center, which offers members greater flexibility to in-person banking through the digital experience. So, when you enter the lobby of their virtual financial center, members receive an experience very similar to what they would expect when visiting a physical CQ location. It's just that it's all done virtually. Similar to when you're having a Zoom or a WebEx meeting. You can get all your questions answered. So that allows us to offer many more hours of service to our members, off hours, and those type of things. And right now we've got about 10% of our new membership growth coming in through virtual appointments, and our virtual member advisor team continues to grow. But we believe that is probably the wave of the future, the virtual banking centers, and we've made a pretty big investment in that here at CQ.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are making very smart investments. And I heard somewhere that COVID sped up digitization by at least a decade. So I'm not surprised that that's the wave of the future.
Yeah, you're spot on. You're spot on with that. And I have my children are very tech savvy, and they would much prefer to jump on a WebEx or a Zoom if they need financial advice, as opposed to getting in the car and driving to a branch or whatever, especially given the cost of gas and the time value of money and all of that nowadays. So we're gonna really push the virtual financial center going forward for sure.
And let's talk about inflation. So we're seeing rates of inflation that we haven't seen since the early 80s, somewhere between 8 and 9%. So what does this mean to a bank and specifically a credit union when inflation gets this high?
Well, obviously, the Fed's, started to raise rates here, and it looks like they're going to be raising rates for, the near future here, and that's obviously driven up our loan rates as rates increase in the market here. We have to increase our loan rates to maintain our margins so we can make a profit to stay in business. But we're also raising our deposit rates to in response to the Fed raising rates as well. But the biggest impact of the CQ, and probably the most financial institutions, if you look at our expense structure, our biggest expenses is in our employees, compensation, employee benefits, and all that. And we have chosen to increase our minimum wage here in 2022. We recently went to $15 an hour, and indications are in the marketplace here that we're most likely going to be going higher in the future here. But the biggest impact from inflation has been on the fact that we have raised those minimum wages for the couple hundred people that we have working in our branches, which is a very good thing for them, especially in this inflationary environment. But that has the trickle up impact of if you raise those wages, from the top down, then you got to make sure that your managers are being properly paid and everything. So it has a tendency to drive your overall compensation cost structure up, especially with the job market that we have right now, where sometimes it's hard to find talent with the job market being as tight as it is. So the biggest impact to us has been on compensation, but and we obviously are managing all of our expenses across the board, try to make sure we're doing things as efficiently as we can, so we can pay the salaries that we need to pay here at CQ to attract the talent that we want to bring into the organization, attract and maintain the talent that we have in the organization. That's a key point right now, is retaining your existing employees.
Definitely. Yeah, it's much more expensive to lose an employee and have to go out and find one than it is to just retain them.
Yes, there's obviously a cost with onboarding and training someone, and last thing you want to do is spend 6 or 12 months training someone and getting them to know the business, to have them to jump ship to go work somewhere else once they've developed the skills. So retention is very important, and I know we're doing everything we can here at CQ to promote job satisfaction and high employee engagement scores. And one of the things that we found here is communication is the key. So we have ongoing all employee meetings or WebExes right now to let everybody know what's going on around the organization. And we're also very high on making sure that all of our employees understand, the goals that we have, both the financial goals and the membership goals and the member experience goals. And, so everybody in the organization is aware of all of those goals, and everybody knows, what their contribution is, to maintaining the overall goals of the organization. And, you can be in a back office, like I obviously have the accounting function here, but, you can be in the back office function and say, well, how am I going to help membership growth or whatever? But, when somebody has a member in the branch, and if they're having an issue and they need to call in the finance and accounting, to get a wire or some other situation resolved, being able to answer that phone in my area and quickly respond to the member is important, because that drives the member satisfaction, and it helps with the relationship with that member. So everybody in the organization, whether it's frontline or back office, everybody in the organization knows, what their contribution is to the end goals.
Yeah, that's important for people to know that the work they're doing matters and it's making a difference. So recently, CQ exceeded $5 billion in assets, as I mentioned. And to celebrate that, you guys are donating $1 million to the community for grants over the next 5 years. So why is it important for businesses to have good relations with their communities? And I assume it's especially important for credit unions.
Yeah. Well, for businesses, obviously having good relationships with your communities, it not only fosters good will amongst the locals who are also your potential customers, but it also helps the community thrive as a whole. And the credit union movement was built on the idea of helping people in the communities we serve. And CQ has always embraced that commitment. And we take our responsibility to support our communities very seriously here. A couple of years ago, we formed the CQ Maryland Foundation, which is CQ's philanthropic arm, which aims to create a stronger Maryland by empowering our members access to education, and we support health and wellness all throughout the state. And the foundation really helps us with our, serves as the catalyst for our community development. And, we awarded $115,000 in scholarships earlier this year, and we over the past probably 10 years we've contributed almost $815,000 to scholarships since our scholarship program was founded. We gave away $120,000 to local nonprofits and charity partners, including the Kennedy Krieger Institute and Special Olympics. And, we every October of every year, we have what we call a kindness day, where we solicit our employees as well as many of the businesses throughout the state to perform acts of kindness through the kindness campaign. And, it's just a way of, getting people to treat people with respect and showing appreciation. And like you said, recently we committed, $1 million in community grants over the next 5 years, because we just believe it's very important to give back to the community. And we believe if we have a presence in the community, that's one way for us to build awareness and to quite frankly grow our membership base. So we're going to do everything we can to give back to the community.
And how can a company maybe decide how much is appropriate to spend on community and benefiting the community? It's such a hard thing to quantify the benefits of that spend, although a lot of them are priceless. What's your advice on how much?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that question, because I just run something on that the other day. We based on CQ's budget for 2022, it looks like we're giving about 2% of our projected earnings, back to the community. So I don't know if that's going to be our goal going forward. 2% based on our earnings this year is about $600,000, and that's what we're hoping to be the total give out of the foundation back to the community this year. So. It is a fine balance. Like you said, it is, some of it is priceless, and you got to kind of look at it as almost being a marketing budget. It's in that it helps you build awareness, and not only that, but we have a lot of employees here at CQ who really value community service. They want to participate. They want to volunteer, and not only is it, helping get CQ's name out there, not only is it helping, the communities we serve, but it's also rewarding to the employees who are helping helping others in need out there in the community. It's a very rewarding experience. I know personally, I've done a lot of volunteer work over the years, and it's very satisfying. It's very satisfying at the end of the day.
And you mentioned this, but you recently won the CUNA Finance Council's 2022 Professional of the Year Award. So first of all, CUNA, it's Credit Unions of North America? What?
Credit Union National Association.
Okay. So what does this award mean to you and your career?
Yeah, I was incredibly honored to be recognized by my peers for such a prestigious award. We accomplished a lot here at CQ, during the pandemic, and keeping our members connected, during a hard time. And I guess it's the body of my work that I've done over the years. I've served on a lot of boards around town here at universities, and the Credit Union Foundation of Maryland, and I also served on the Maryland Council on Economic Education. I was chair of that, where we educate teachers throughout the state. We can talk a little bit more about that in a couple minutes here, but I think the award was very humbling to me. I think it was the result of my body of work over the years, the things I've done. We talked about the CFO Round Table, the things I did with the CUNA Finance Council, but I've always strived to help others, my peers at the CFO level. And it's not even so much a CFO. There are a lot of people out there who want to be CFOs who I've mentored over the years and given advice to, and it was a tremendous honor. I mean, we've got over 1,300 members in the CUNA Finance Council, and to be recognized as the professional year, it was very humbling.
Yeah, absolutely. What an amazing achievement, and congratulations on that. So are there any other awards that you would like to win in your professional life, or any other things you have your sights set on?
Yeah, when I look back on it, I was on the board at Towson University, and I got the Volunteer of the Year award there. And I was, a couple years ago, the Baltimore Business Journal Finance Professional of the Year here in Baltimore. And I'm an honorary member of Beta Gamma Sigma. And I don't know professionally that there's a lot more I want to achieve at this point. I've actually only got a couple more years to go in my career, and my main goal right now is to, develop the people that I'm working with here at CQ to, continue the legacy that we've created here in finance and accounting at CQ. And jokingly, I guess my next goal was to be grandfather of the year with my 5 grandchildren, but that's not a professional. That's not a professional award.
Yeah. Sounds like you spend a lot of time giving back or paying forward. Very commendable.
Yeah, I think with being part of the credit union movement, where one of our goals is just to drive that community involvement, I just felt it was something that I not only needed to do because of my role here at CQ, but something that I wanted to do. And I found it to be extremely rewarding to be on those volunteer boards.
And still on awards, for the 3rd consecutive year, CQ received a top spot on Forbes' list of best in state credit unions. They were placed in the top 5 to be exact. So how have you been able to accomplish this now 3 times in a row? And specifically, what's been your contribution to this accomplishment?
Yeah, just to talk a little bit about the award itself. Forbes, when they give out this award, they partner with market research firms and do in-depth interviews with citizens in all 50 states and regarding their banking relationships. So this award is particularly special at CQ in that it reflects the positive sentiment from our past and current members. So we're thankful that they recognize the good work that we're doing. we're just so thrilled that CQ is not only recognized in the top 5 of the list, but more so it's a direct reflection of member feedback. So, it goes back to what I talked about at the beginning of the podcast here, Megan. I mean, we strive for member relationships and building that member relationship. We've never been focused on driving profit or profitability here. We've been a firm believer over the years that if we develop the relationships at our members, that the profitability will follow. And when I talk about profitability, I mean it's nice to have a member come to us for an indirect auto loan or a CD or whatever, but we're really looking to deepen those relationships. Just by asking the questions, when we're face to face with the member, either in person in the branches or at our virtual financial centers. Now, is there anything we can be doing as a credit union to help you with your financial journey? Be it, do you need an auto loan, a home equity? Are you looking to refinance your mortgage? Are you okay with your credit card? And can we offer any advice out of how to manage your debt? Or, we also have a arm of CQ here called CQ Financial Partners, which is our wealth management the part of our credit union where if members want to, look at some more sophisticated investments like annuities and stocks and bonds and those type of things, and we can't provide that service within the credit union itself, we can direct them to CQ Financial Partners and, hook them up with a wealth management professional who can help them with, their investment needs. So we kind of branched out into that area over the past couple years, and we just continue to do the things that we help our members. And being $5 billion, that might sound like a lot, but relative to the big financial institutions that are trillions of dollars or whatever, we're a small fish in the pond. So we have to be aware of where we spend our limited resources on, marketing and technological developments and all those type of things. But we survey our members on a regular basis, and we focus on spending money throughout the organization that will improve that member experience. We've got a whole team of professionals here at CQ that do nothing but look at the member experience and how we can improve that for them, and we make investments accordingly. So I guess that's one of the reasons we've been able to get that top 5 spot 3 years running here.
Yeah, I'd like to come bank at CQ. It sounds like a wonderful place to do your banking.
I'll see if we can qualify you.
So you mentioned this also, but that you've created a roundtable for finance professionals to network and share information. So talk to us about what was the impetus behind this and how exactly it works.
First of all, I have to give credit to Bill Kennedy, who's a fellow CFO here in Maryland. It was his idea, and he came up with the question: how do we take all the work that we've done on a national level at the CUNA Finance Council and bring it local? And what I mean by that is, the CUNA Finance Council, like I said, has over 1,300 members, and we have there's a website where you can go to interact with your peers on a regular basis. If you've got questions about how to do something in your finance or accounting shop, and there's an annual conference where most of our members, CUNA Finance Council members, attend. And the biggest feedback that I got from being chair over this, for 2 years, was the fact that that people value networking as the top. The top reason for joining the council. So, and by networking, I mean being able to reach out to your peers, or attend events or webinars or podcasts like you're doing, just to learn more about the business. So, Bill took the idea and said, "Is there anything that we can do locally here. So we came up with the ideas like, why don't we just start a quarterly all-day session through the Maryland DC Credit Union Association, and why don't we see if CFOs would want to come in similar to what they do at the national convention on an annual basis. Would they be willing to come in on a quarterly basis just to sit down for all day and talk about the business? So the format of the day was I would basically spend the first hour talking about what we were doing at CQ and ask around the room just issues that my peers were facing. And we didn't limit it to just CFOs. We included all financial professionals, because like I said earlier, a lot of people out there, strive to be CFOs or at their organizations, possibly as a career goal. And, it was good for them to have the ability to interact with other CFOs to see what we're doing. And, so we spent an hour and a half just talking about that. Then we would always have an outside vendor come in, somebody like the Federal Home Loan Bank or some asset liability management firm, to just talk, for a couple hours about, opportunities, we might have, or just to give us an education on, what's going out there with investments, what's going on out there with asset liability management or borrowings or whatever we chose as a topic for the meeting. And we would have a vendor or two come in, and then we'd have a couple hour wrap up at the end of the day, just to, talk about things we had learned from the vendor and just keep the conversation going on, what our respective shops are doing. Like I said earlier, all of us have our unique fields of membership. So we really credit unions are more than willing to, professionals are more than willing to share, what's going on in their respective shops, because of that limited field of membership. So people are willing to share ideas, and it got a lot of traction to where pre-pandemic, we were having up to 80, 85 CFOs and financial professionals come in from Maryland, DC, and the surrounding states, for this all-day session. Then the pandemic hit. We had to go virtual with it. And we're just starting up the in-person meetings again here in the fall. So it's just been very rewarding. And it obviously allows you to meet a lot of your peers around town. So if you do have a question, you just pick up the phone and give them a call or shoot them an email. And, it just makes I know it's made my job easier over the years. And hopefully I've been able to return the favor, through the networking and help other people too, who might be facing issues in their respective credit unions.
Yeah, the fact that you were able to get 85 finance professionals to spend an entire day speaks to the value of that roundtable.
Yes. Yeah, it's been widely successful. We thought about trying to get it going on a national level, but when you think about it, there are a lot of credit unions, in the Maryland, DC, and surrounding state regions. So where, if you're in Northern Virginia, Southern Pennsylvania, or Delaware, where we had people driving in, you could be in Baltimore in an hour and a half from most of those locations. So people were willing to make the drive in, and obviously to have kept that going for 7 years and even through the pandemic, obviously we must be adding some value to the work that's being done, in that, Bill and I have kind of taken a step back, 7 years of volunteer work, it was got to be time to turn it over to some other individuals, which we've done. And I'm and we're still going to be part of the process, but I'm very confident that we build a foundation here, and that's that roundtable is going to be something that continues here in Maryland, DC, and the surrounding states.
And in the course of these roundtables, what's the most common challenge you hear?
It's really funny, but prior to the pandemic, there, retention and attracting, talent into the credit unions was a big thing, and that only got harder here during the pandemic. With a lot of people, if they have the ability to work remotely, they're they're electing to do so. So I know here at CQ, we're kind of running a hybrid model right now where if you want to come into the office, you're more than welcome to come in the office. If you want to work from home remotely like you've been doing for the past 2 years, that works also. So we're trying to find the balance right now about, how many days a week, should we have people in the office and all those kind of things. But you always face the other side that, people may opt to leave if you ask them to come into the office on a regular basis now that they've been working for a couple of years. So it's a challenge that we're all facing, but we're making it work here at CQ. The executive team, obviously, which I am a member of, we're trying to be in the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays on a fairly regular basis. So if our staff wants to come in and have in-person meetings, which we still want to do, obviously, there's such a great benefit of being person to person. I happen to attend the board meetings here at CQ, and it's so much easier to sit around the board table and to read the board members. Are they understanding what we're saying? Are they agreeing with what we're saying? It's so much harder to read the room on a WebEx. When you can only see a couple people at a time, it really makes it hard to read the room. So there's significant value in face-to-face meetings, and I know we're trying to find the perfect balance of that here at CQ. And I would imagine that a lot of organizations are struggling with that remote work environment and in person and all that kind of stuff. What to do going forward? So
absolutely, it's a balancing act.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that's going on right now, and right now we're obviously all dealing with the rising rate environment, and most of the credit unions, like the banks, our earnings will continue to be solid here in the rising rate environment, but you got to be aware of the fact that like I said, loan rates are going up, so loan demand is most likely going to slow down. We've already seen that in the mortgage business, where mortgage applications are half of what they were a year ago, and there's obviously pressure to raise our deposit rates to stay competitive, with the online banks and all that kind of stuff. So it's changing interest rates obviously have a big impact on profitability of the balance sheet, on the net interest margin and everything. So, that's been a big topic of discussion lately. What are people doing with their loan rates and deposit rates? And, the thing that, it's funny you mentioned this, because I just had a conversation with my CEO here earlier this week about, we need to start looking ahead here to 2023 and 2024, because we possibly could be going into another recession here right now. And we know that in a recession, members obviously some of them have a harder time paying their bills. And, we need to be able to work with the members, through those relationships we have to, be able to, keep the, keep them being able to, pay their loans and work with them if they run into trouble. So, the looming recession is also something out there that I think we all, all of us, CFOs need to be concerned about right now, because it will have an impact on our bottom line at some point.
Yeah, I read somewhere that you don't know you're in a recession until you're 2 quarters in. So I often wonder if we're already there.
Yeah, first quarter was negative growth, and a lot of people are projecting that we may already be in a recession here when they release the second quarter GDP a couple weeks from now. And I don't know, for some reason, it doesn't feel like a recession right now. I go out there, my wife and I obviously go out to restaurants and all that kind of stuff, and it still seems like the economy's, doing fairly well here. But, the impact of inflation and increasing gas price and all, it got to hit the pocketbook at some point. So, we just want to make sure that we're there to meet the member needs. I mean, we're seeing big increases in credit card activity right now, just because I think more, with the price of everything, I think more people are maybe starting to build up those credit card balances and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
That go along with a slowing economy and rising prices.
So speaking of things like roundtables and CUNA, what are the benefits of having a peer-to-peer network and networking in general?
Yeah, I think all of us have, I'll just throw out some examples here right now. All of us have various policies and procedures, that we have to have, on the financing side. So we got investment policies, we got derivative policies, we got impermissible policies. We've got policies all over the place. So, having a network, you can always reach out to your others and say, what are the limits you're placing in your policies? How much liquidity do you want to have in your organization? Do you have any concentration risk problems, too heavy in indirect autos or the mortgage business or whatever. But just, being able to talk to other credit unions and see what they're doing. And, we all have a common regulator, the NCUA, the NCUA is our regulator, and National Credit Union Administration is our regulator, and they're in all the shops around town on an annual mostly on an annual basis. So it's nice to be able to have these roundtables and to be able to pick up the phone and say, "Oh, I see, the regulators were just in your shop last month, where they're coming into my credit union in a couple months here. Is there anything I should be looking for? What is the focus of their examinations? What are the things that we should be prepared to answer when they come in here?" So, the things like that. And, what are you doing? What are you doing with your investment portfolios in this volatile rate environment? Just, anything related to the finance and accounting functions. It's just nice to be able to talk to other people about what they're doing so you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, it's a good point. So lastly, as a CFO, what's keeping you up at night? We've talked about talent, attrition, and retention and inflation. Maybe those are the two things that are keeping you up at night.
Yeah, I think it's all of the above. Obviously, we need to keep our net interest margin strong, in this environment, because, like I said, we're probably going to start to see some credit losses in the industry here going forward if we are in fact in a recession. So, we just, we need to keep our earnings stable. And, we have an enterprise risk management function here at the organization. We have a chief risk officer whose role it is to just identify all the risks throughout the organization. And, the ones that I believe we are most focused on right now are what like you just said, what are the risks of a recession, and just retention and attracting, new employees. And just being able to, like I said earlier, just determine how to allocate our limited resources. We're starting to put together our CQs budget for 2023. And, we're making everybody go through an exercise through the strategic planning process to, identify any specific products or expenditures that they would like to make in their respective areas. And, as CFO, myself and the rest of the executive leadership team, we need to go through and prioritize those possible expenditures for next year, because quite frankly, we can't do everything. Like I said earlier, we're going to focus on the ones that provide the greatest member value, and those are the ones that we're going to, spend the most of our resources on in 2023. And I can tell you a lot of that is just continued development of our channels, online banking, mobile banking, and the virtual banking center that I talked about earlier. I know we're going to be spending, dollars in each one of those respective areas.
Steve, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Thank you very much, Megan. It was a real pleasure speaking with you, and look forward to speaking with you in the future.
Yeah, I really enjoyed speaking with you as well and hearing about all your experiences and the resulting insights. And I appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. And I wish you and CQ all the best. And to our listeners, please tune in next week. And until then, take care.
If you're ready to boost efficiency and streamline your accounting processes at significant cost savings, it's time to talk with Personiv. Their people-powered solutions have transformed the delivery of back-office tasks and general accounting functions for decades, partnering with clients to provide everything from accounts payable to payroll services. See what Personiv can do for you by visiting personiv.com.
You've been listening to CFO Weekly, presented by Personiv. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts to hear all of our episodes. Want to learn more? Check out personiv.com. Thanks for listening.